It's one of the biggest expenses in life, and it just keeps getting pricier. In fact, the cost of a college degree increased by a staggering 1,120% in the past 30 years. Think about that. So it is no wonder that people who can't afford to spend upwards of $40,000 a year on tuition and fees are drawn in by ads like this one.
When I finished my degree in business, a new job at a great company, that's the graduation present I want.
In 2012, 90% of DeVry University grads actively seeking employment had careers in their field in 6 months. Join the 90%. Learn how at DeVry.edu.
Well, DeVry is just one of several for-profit colleges that have been accused of using predatory recruiting practices. The University of Phoenix and the Brookline-based Art Institute of New England have also come under scrutiny. I'm joined now by WGBH News higher ed reporter Kirk Carapeza. Welcome, Kirk. I know you've been looking into this issue, but what's the issue? They don't get tax-exempt status, and all of their money comes from tuition. So what's the problem?
The problem really is, and critics have highlighted this, the students who attend these schools tend to default on their loans at a far higher rate than the average student, a 15% rate. And these schools hire thousands of recruiters, and they're not hiring career staff to help those students find jobs. And those recruiters are aggressively targeting low-income and veteran students.
So it's all about the numbers for them. So what would the new regulations do?
The new regulations would require all for-profit schools to provide accurate information to the public. The regulations would also prohibit misleading advertisements, and they'd address unfair lending practices. And Martha Coakley, the Attorney General, is pushing these regulations along with 22 other states.
All right, Kirk, thanks for that.
Thanks, Emily.
All right, well, my next guest says she can name dozens of examples of students who've been misled by for-profit colleges. Toby Merrill is an attorney who represents low-income student borrowers. She testified yesterday at a hearing held by the Attorney General's office. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Thank you.
Toby, tell us about a few of the students. Tell us what has happened to some of the students who you've tried to help.
Sure. So you mentioned recruiting tactics, and one of the things that we've heard a lot is that people are being drawn in to borrow immense amounts of money for these schools by promises and tactics that are both unfair and untrue. So one example is of someone who was called every single day after her name was given to a recruiter until she agreed to come in. She was a single mother with an infant child, and basically just went in to get them to stop calling her cell phone every day. I've also heard of people being called dozens of times a day. So very aggressive recruiting, also very dishonest recruiting. So one outrageous example is being shown high-end equipment. A student who testified yesterday was shown green screen studios and really high-end digital video equipment, and the program she enrolled in actually did not permit her to use that equipment.
Didn't exist. So, but do these students come away with any marketable skills? Because the promise of jobs, all colleges promise jobs. Do they come away with any?
On the whole, of the people I talk to, no. So there's a risk of generalizing, but of course, the people who I'm seeing are almost uniformly unable to get any job, much less jobs in the field they were intending to enter. And a few people, one person actually told me that in seeking a job in the field of his degree, he was told, we don't hire students from your schools because they don't have the skills we're looking for. So, and I've heard other similar examples.
All right, so part of the criticism of these for-profit colleges is their very aggressive recruiting of veterans, and they put out these advertisements to recruit vets. Here's a clip of one.
It's an honor to serve those who serve our country.
The average veteran is bombarded with for-profit college ads.
I wasn't sure coming out of the military what my plans would be.
A Google search for GI Bill turns up GIBill.com, a site which directs soldiers only to for-profit schools. Even organizations like AMVETS, one of the nation's oldest veterans associations, is plastered with for-profit college ads.
That, of course, was from a Frontline documentary. Why veterans? Is because they have money, they come out of the military, and they have money to invest in college educations. Is that why?
That's the general answer. There's actually a more technical answer, which is that for-profit colleges are required by federal law to get at least 10% of their revenue not from federal student loan funds. And funds from the GI Bill and other veterans benefits don't count toward that 90% that is the limit of federal student aid.
Really?
It counts
Even though
toward
it's
the 10%.
federal money in another way, it doesn't count.
Exactly. So I think that is largely what is understood to have given birth to the enormous pressure to recruit veterans.
Okay, Toby, how many students overall at these for-profit schools are getting these student loans? Is it virtually 90% or more? I mean, almost everybody?
Yes.
And they want them to take on this debt?
Well, money is money to the schools. I mean, I'm not sure I know the answer to that
question. Because if they default on it, how does it help the school? You know?
Well, how does it hurt the school, or?
How does it doesn't help them if they default on it, so.
It doesn't help the school if the student defaults, but it also doesn't necessarily hurt the school. I mean, there are federal regulations that theoretically cut off the school's access to federal student loan funds if too many of their students are defaulting for too many years in a row, but the standard is extremely low, and there's very little enforcement.
All right, Toby Merrill, good information. Thanks for being part of it.
Thank you.
All right, for more in-depth coverage on emerging trends in higher ed, visit our website, WGBHnews.org, and click the link to our on-campus blog.